Just a few chapters back, a lot of people were sad because Law is leaving and we don't know when we're going to be seeing him again. No one would have guessed it would have been this soon, and no one would have guessed it would have been this booby. Hello humans of the world, I'm Dawn of the World, welcome aboard. And in the spirit of Blackbeard jumping atop Doc Q and stronger this chapter, why not jump aboard my subscribe button and click for alerts while you're at it. Jumping right on in, we have Luffy, Chopper, Bonnie are all satisfied with last chapter's feed, and Bonnie's out here fitting in like a pink-haired Australian glove. I don't think we've ever seen a female character bloated like this before, though you could argue that Big Mum is in a semi-permanent state of this. Atlas is really adorable, and I'm still not certain their gender, but they seem to be happy that their cooking machine has been appreciated. As for the cooking machine, we can again see that the cardinal directions / names of the oceans outside the Grand Line are on it. I hope we have this addressed in some way soon because I'm really intrigued by it. Also, this bulging bellies comment along with Jinbei's "this is my true form" type retort gave me this mental image of Jinbei, but he's got a thin build and he did not look right, my dudes. Give me the dad bod Jinbei or give me nothing. We also have a robot dog. Yay! Everything's better with dogs, especially ones that are good for the environment. This place has a very Germa vibe, as some people have already pointed out. It's like Germa meets Punk Hazard meets Baltimore meets the moon. It's all connected, baby. These lab assistants remind me a lot of those little dudes on the moon. Those buddies of Frankie and their dog on Baltimore also give me similar kind of vibes. This would make sense since Baltimore is Vegapunk's home island, and in a lot of ways it's kind of like a failed prototype of what's going on now in Egghead. Also, I think it's a very firmly believed and supported theory that Vegapunk has business with the moon, so it's all kind of checking out here. I'm not so sure if it's just me, but something about the way these guys are moving also reminds me of the Yeti Cool brothers from Punk Hazard. We never saw their faces, and I'm expecting some answers regarding them this arc as well. Also, these lab assistants seem to have words published across their clothing. Most distinguishable is the one that says petrology, which is a branch of geology that studies rocks and the conditions under which they form, which makes me immediately think of the whole Pluton situation. This little one here seems to have the word history. This one might be linguistics, but it's kind of hard to say. And this one almost looks like a word that I'm not going to say because this video would be demonetized. There's also another person later with the word civil, and of course Kuma with the word police. We then see our group dressing in what's likely to be seen for years to come as the Egghead Island outfits. They're made of some very light breezy material despite looking heavy, so obviously there's kind of some wild clothing technology that Vegapunk's concocted. And everyone's looking pretty cute out here. Chopper and Luffy both have the initials SSG on their clothing for Special Science Group, while Bonnie has VP for Vegapunk. And then we have Jinbei, who's chosen this Hawaiian dad shirt. Never changed, Jinbei. I've only now just realized that I've been calling this place a lab. I guess, you know, there's lab assistants and whatnot, but it's really starting to feel more like some kind of shopping mall. Given the food place, this kind of clothing shop they've apparently accidentally unintentionally stolen from. And now Bartholomew Kuma, mall cop. Don't mess with his mall. And he's a pretty brutal mall cop. Or shoot first, ask questions later. I don't think we've really ever seen Bonnie fight before now, but she seems to have enough power to be able to knock Gear 3 Luffy off balance, rather throw him off, and he seems to have found this somewhat painful as well, suggesting that she can use Haki. So Bonnie confirms again that Kuma is her father. Last chapter when it was confirmed, she never outright said it. We as an audience were just supplied with a visual of Kuma while she described her situation, and we had the pre-existing knowledge that she and Kuma had some kind of relational history but weren't sure of it until that point. The other three didn't realize that the father in question she was talking about was Kuma until now, and of course they all know Kuma from their various escapades. It's so sad. My inner Frankie is surfacing and I'm feeling feelings. I also have a type of Australian accent that prevents me from sounding genuine, but the feelings are there. Oda has always had this way of drawing people when they're crying that completely encapsulates that raw emotion. It's not pretty. They're snot, even if they're a pretty girl. Just this single petal! Ugh! What really drives it home is not just this emotion that's pouring out of Bonnie, but also this glimpse into a flashback from years ago of a father and daughter. Two characters we've known for a really long time, but not that their relationship was as such. From what we can see, Kuma seems to be wearing the same kind of garb that we've seen Dragon, Ivankov, and other revolutionaries wearing. He looks a bit battered, like he's recently been involved in some kind of skirmish or battle, and yet at the end of the day, his little girl is still able to bring him all of this joy and put such a big smile on his face. It's really something to see this kind of emotion, or any emotion at all really, being expressed by Kuma. He looks so different without the hat, without the stance, in a different outfit, with something other than the stoic expression. It never really occurred to me how human he would be before he was transformed by Vegapunk and the world government. With that in mind, isn't it interesting that of the two most prominent cyborgs in the series, one of them is very emotional, free-spirited, and human, while the other is enslaved in his own body, unable to express even a mote of human emotion. Really makes you wonder about cybernetics, free choice, what it means to be human, all that. These ideas could easily be explored in this arc, especially given the upcoming Frankie focus, and whatever's up with the Vegapunks and all of these lab people. For that matter, I'll be very surprised if we don't get a Bonnie and Kuma flashback this arc, especially now that we've been given a glimpse into how things used to be. I mean, Kuma was once the king of Sorbet Kingdom in South Blue. He joined the revolutionaries for a time, but was then taken by the world government and gradually turned into a cyborg by Vegapunk. Before doing the final override of his free will, Vegapunk allowed Kuma one request. His request was that he could watch over the Thousand Sunny for 2 whole years, which Vegapunk obliged. There's a lot of questions here that need to be answered, and the time's approaching. And then we have the Bonnie side of things. She is/was the princess of Sorbet Kingdom. How young was she when she left? She describes Kuma as being the only family I have left, which is even the name of this chapter, so what happened to the rest of Sorbet's royal family? I mean, obviously they died. Oda is a master of sad flashbacks, and I feel like this one's gonna be a doozy. Anyway, so Bartholomew Kuma Mall Cop is a pacifista, which means obviously that he's not the original one. Bonnie probably knows this since the original one was the one in Marijois and has now been taken by the revolutionaries, albeit completely not himself, but it would still be very distressing for her to see what appears to be her father in such a way, and to the confrontation of having to fight him. Then an explosion happens on a somewhat neighboring island, that being whichever the one that Law and crew happen to decide to go to back there at the end of Wano. Things are happening. Just a few chapters back, a lot of people were sad because Law is leaving and we don't know when we're going to be seeing him again. No one would have guessed it would have been this soon, and no one would have guessed it would have been this booby. And Beppo sis over here, she's serving. I'll have what she's having. And of course, Law is out here really doing it for the bisexuals this chapter. Penguin and Sachi are fanboying, or rather fanboying and fangirling, since Sachi is a girl here. And then Penguin turns into a girl as well because apparently the power is contagious and he and Sachi were hugging. That is not social distancing, hence the booby virus has been passed along. This is Doc Q's doing. He ate the sick fruit, so now he's fully sick. He's hit them with the Milady virus, which honestly isn't as good a name as the booby virus because it makes me think of a contagion that causes people to wear fedoras and be nice guys and, you know, be that whole 2012 stereotype. But Law manages to will his and his crew's titties away with Haki. You know what? Titty virus is an even better name. I like to think that there's at least one heart pirate who's like, this has awoken something in me, and then goes to seek out Ivankov to get their needs met. Dare I hope that the Straw Hats get hit with this at some point? Oda did do some SBS sketches as to what they look like Ivankov. It could be really funny because Brooke would look no different. And the male Robin? I feel a certain kind of way, but I'm just gonna get on with the chapter. So we have a significant portion, I think all of the OG Blackbeard crew here, the Jaya crew. I'd love to do a full music video of that, but I don't want to get copyright claimed. Atop being a master sniper, Van Auger now has the warp fruit, and he uses it to yeet Jesus Burgess over to where he lifts a mountain, showing off his recently acquired buff fruit abilities, really boosting his pro wrestler thing he's got going on. I don't think I've ever seen this guy not having a good time. He's such a joyous person. The thing with Blackbeard is that everyone in his crew is getting fruit abilities. Blackbeard's just standing up there like, you get a fruit ability, and you get a fruit ability, and you all get fruit abilities. But in all the 25 years of One Piece, I don't think I've ever seen a fruit user die by falling into the ocean. So with all of these fruit users in Blackbeard's crew now, wouldn't it be interesting if the first time we see a fruit user die by drowning, it's one of them? After all, their biggest strength is also their biggest weakness. When you consider that a little while ago, Kaido said something along the lines of it being those who were incredibly adept at Haki, not fruit users, though you can have both, who would conquer the sea. And this was backed up nicely just now by Law remembering that he could will his boobies away with Haki. I don't know, something to be said about Blackbeard having all of these fruit users while being a multi-fruit user himself somehow. While I don't actually know how their Haki is, it feels like it's gonna be important. Then Blackbeard himself makes his appearance and... sorry. He just looks really silly up there. Where did he even come from? I don't think he was in the earlier panel of Doc Q on the flying horse. Did he just descend from the skies and land on them? This is obviously meant to be as funny as it is, since Doc Q and Stronger, who also has a fruit now, are suffering under his weight. I also just found out that Blackbeard's crew is actually a whole lot younger than I expected. Aside from Blackbeard, the three in this chapter are in their 20s. Katarina Devon is 36. Meanwhile, we got dudes in their 40s looking like this. Also, last chapter I said that Bonnie was 22, which was wrong. She's 24. Anyway, this really isn't looking good for the Heart Pirates, I'm sorry to say. I mean, obviously Law himself is strong, but his crew, I mean, obviously they're not weak. They've made it this far, but during Onigashima, they were only really fighting the fodder. So I don't know where their strength is actually at, but it's also too early to make these kinds of assumptions. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the chapter, and let me know if you would pick one of these futuristic looking outfits, or if you would indulge your inner Hawaiian dad. It's really hard for me to say what I'd pick. Also, my cat is now on my bed and shaking my camera. Again, be sure to subscribe for upcoming videos. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Bye guys. Bye bye.